This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, good morning. Today's class is on polyhydramnios. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Before going to polyhydramnios, you should know the origin of amniotic fluid. No, I'm asking whether you can hear with this mask or shall I remove? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we should know the origin of amniotic fluid. It is mostly, it's a mixture of maternal and fetal origin. From where it is coming, you should know before going to the main class. This amniotic fluid is usually removed every 3 hours. It is replaced. See the volume of amniotic fluid. It is about 50 ml around 12 weeks, 400 ml around 20 weeks, around 36 to 38 weeks. It reaches its peak. It will be usually 1 liter. Thereafter, it diminishes to 600 to 800. Term is 40 weeks, isn't it? So between 38 to 40 weeks, the amniotic fluid will reduce. It will reduce to 600 to 800 ml. And if the pregnancy still continues post-term, further decrease will be there. It will be around 200 ml at 43 weeks. Okay. So this is very much important because you should remember it reaches a peak that is 1 liter at 36 to 38 weeks. That is most important thing. Thereafter, the amount decreases. The physical features will be usually an alkaline liquid, specific gravity of 1, and color is usually colorless. But when coming to the term, it is usually straw color fluid will be present, and turbid also due to the presence of vernix caseosa. The color is very much important because sometimes it can turn into green color. Then always you should suspect it can be a meconium stain lichen. Okay. Then it can be golden color. Then you should suspect RH incompatibility. Greenish yellow or saffron color, always think of post maturity. Dark colored, sometimes it is maybe mixed with blood. So the amniotic fluid will color as dark color. It is due to accidental hemorrhage. And dark brown, tobacco juice color, it is mainly you should suspect IUD. This they will ask, what is the color of amniotic fluid? Usually colorless. Sometimes it will be straw color during term. If it is green means always suspect meconium stain and fetal distress. Golden color RH incompatible. Again I am repeating. Greenish yellow post maturity. Dark colored, it is mainly due to accidental hemorrhage. So whenever you rupture the membranes, we will always look at the color of the lichen. Usually we'll come across plain colorless fluid or term is suspended with longo and vernix caseosa. And composition is always, remember, mostly it is only water. And some products will present their organic solutes are protein, glucose, uric acid, urea, creatinine. I just remember the contents which are present in the urine, isn't it? Urine contains what? Water. And solid materials, what are the things we can see in the urine? Proteins we can see. So protein, glucose, uric acid, blood urea, urea and creatinine. And not only that, inorganic components are also present. They can be sodium, potassium and chloride. And suspended particles are longo hair will be present, vernix caseosa, exfoliated epithelial cells from the fetal skin, cells from the respiratory tract, urinary bladder and vagina of the fetus. These are the suspended particles. So what are the things we can see when you see it in the microscope? Longo hair we can see, Then squamous epithelial cells of the fetal skin, vernix caseosa, and cells of the respiratory tract, urinary bladder, and vagina. So what are the functions of this amniotic fluid? During pregnancy, what does it do? It acts as a shock absorber, maintains an even temperature, allows the growth and free movement of the fetus, and it prevents adhesions between fetal parts and amniotic sac. And it has no much nutritive value. So during pregnancy, it acts as a shock absorber, maintain an even temperature, allows the growth and fetal movement, free movement of the fetus, and it prevents adhesions. During labor, what it does? Static wedge helps in. During uterine contractions, it prevents marked interference with the placental circulation. Guards against umbilical cord compression. It flushes the birth canal because it has bactericidal action will be present. So during labor, what does it do? It helps in dilatation of the cervix, number one. And number two, it guards against umbilical cord compression. Placental circulation, it is not, during uterine contraction, it prevents marked interference with the placental circulation, and it flushes the birth canal, and it has the bactericidal action. And from where you will get this amniotic fluid? Okay, these are the properties of amniotic fluid, and from where you get? This is the exam they will ask you. Mainly due to transudation from the maternal serum in the beginning. Number two, from the amniotic epithelium. Number three, transudation from the umbilical cord and placental membranes. And fourth, transudation from the fetal skin. This fetal skin only up to 20 weeks will get from the fetal skin. Later, the skin will get keratinized. From that day onwards, we'll get from the fetal urine and fetal lung. So this is the places of production. So one is maternal transudation of the serum. Number two, from the transudation from the fetal circulation through umbilical cord and placental membranes, from the amniotic epithelium itself and fetal skin. Later, after 20th week, we'll get from fetal urine and fetal lung. That's why we'll get the epithelial cells from the lung, urine, etc., isn't it? And removal. Always it will be removed every 3 hours. The amniotic fluid will be removed. That is, it is swallows. Fetal swallows about 500 to 1000 ml of liquor every day. And not only that, intramembranous absorption of water and solutes from the amniotic compartment to fetal circulation through the fetal surface of placenta. So intramembranous absorption of water will be present, and not only that, fetus also swallows 500 to 1000 ml of liquor. See, this is the diagram. See, this is the amniotic fluid. This one is amniotic epithelium. Number two, maternal circulation from the fetal skin. That is up to 20 weeks. From the transudation from the placenta. Later, it will come from the fetal urine and fetal lungs. So, removal from the intramembranous absorption, and it also swallows about 1000 ml of liquor. I think you understand by this time. Again, I am going back. Amniotic fluid, they will ask you from where the origin is. Then the color is very much important. Green, golden yellow, greenish yellow, dark color, and dark brown. These are the things they will ask you from the origin. Color of the liquor is very much important. Components already told you. You remember the components of urine. The same thing you can write here. The percentages you did not write. At least the components you can write. And suspended particles. This much is important. This is important. During pregnancy, shock absorber maintains the temperature, growth of the fetus, no adhesion formation, and minimum nutrition value. During labor, helps in the cervical dilatation, doesn't interfere with cord compression and blood circulation, and it has the bactericidal activity. Okay, these are the things you should remember for the amniotic fluid. Next, we'll come to the main topic, polyhydramnios. Poly means multiple. So, hydramnios, the amniotic fluid is more, isn't it? When you will say anatomically, the define as polyhydramnios more than 2000 ml. How much should be the lichen? Can anyone tell me a term? Or at 38 weeks? Answer me. Hello? Hello? At 38 weeks, how much it will be? చెప్తారా? Hello? Can you listen me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
How much? Ansepamma. Hello, hello, Nali. How much it will be at the 38 weeks?
1 liter, ma'am.
So, if it exceeds 2000 ml, that is 2 liters, that is polyhydramnios. So, definition is excessive accumulation of lichen causing discomfort to the patient, or when the amniotic fluid index is more than 24 centimeters, or deep vertical pocket is more than 8 centimeters. This is the clinical definition. So, excessive accumulation of lichen causing discomfort to the patient. What is amniotic fluid index? Amniotic fluid index is you take horizontal line at the level of umbilicus and vertical line from the xiphisternum to symphysis pubis. So, it will divide into 4 quadrants. When you take amniotic fluid in each quadrant, and then when you combine 4 quadrants of amniotic fluid, it will give amniotic fluid index, that is more than 24. Or if you take a single vertical pocket in one quadrant, then if it is more than 8, then it is considered as polyhydramnios. How much is the incidence? This 1 to 2%. There are so many causes for the polyhydramnios. It can be either excessive production of lichen amni, or it can be deficient absorption. See, usually either it can be mostly excess production, or the fetus may be not swallowing, or deficient absorption. That is the reason for polyhydramnios. So what is the etiology for this polyhydramnios? Mostly idiopathic, 50 to 60%. No cause will be found. Otherwise, either fetal causes, placental causes, and maternal causes are the causes for the polyhydramnios. When coming to the fetal causes, anencephaly is the mostly it is usually due to congenital fetal malformation. What are the congenital fetal malformations? Come across, see the diagram. Anencephaly number 1, esophageal atresia, spina bifida, cleft lip or palate, hydrocephalus, and any chromosomal abnormality. See, these are the usual causes for the fetus. So, fetal anomalies mostly anencephaly is the commonest. Why the causes of excess production in this are? There will be exposed. What is anencephaly baby? There won't be any vault, isn't it? The scalp won't be present. All the meninges are exposed in anencephaly. So what will happen? There will be exposed meninges. From exposed meninges, there will be translation of amniotic fluid. Then absence of fetal swallowing reflex. This anencephaly baby, they don't have swallowing reflex. Then The third one is antidiuretic hormone is suppressed. That's why there will be excess urination in this anencephaly baby. So the causes are, as there is no valve, there is no skull, the meninges are exposed, there will be transportation of fluid from it. Number 2, the baby won't swallow because of absence of swallowing reflex. Number 3, antidiuretic hormone is suppressed. In open spina bifida also, increased translation from the meninges will be present. Esophageal and duodenal atresia, as the baby can't swallow. Cleft lip and cleft masses or any masses interfering at the neck. They all interfere with the normal fetal swallowing. High due to RH immunization, fetal cirrhosis, and any torch infections also can cause fetal anomalies. And aneuploidy and genetic syndromes. These are the fetal anomalies. See, these are the diagrams. Then placenta. Placenta means any tumor, that is choreangioma of placenta is tumor arising from the single villus causes hyperplasia of the blood vessels and connective tissue causes increased transudation. So tumor from the villi, that is known as choreangioma of placenta. Okay. Then multiple pregnancy. But among multiple pregnancy, monozygotic twins are a production of more amount of lichen. This is mainly due to twin to twin transfusion. From one twin, the lichen will go to the other twin. So one will be oligohydramnios will be present, and in one polyhydramnios will be present. Coming to the maternal causes, the most important one is diabetes. What will happen to the diabetes? There will be maternal blood sugar will be raised. When the maternal blood sugar is not under control, if it is raised, then also fetal blood sugar will be raised. So whenever your blood sugar is raised, you already know diuresis will be more. So fetal diuresis will be more, that leads to hydramnios. Then cardiac and renal diseases in the mother, that leads to edema of the placenta, leading to increase in transfusion. So in your exam also, you have clinical case of polyhydramnios. So maternal causes, fetal causes, and placental causes. Fetal causes are, again I am repeating, anencephaly, spina bifida, esophageal atresia, hydrops vitalis, and genetic syndromes. Among placenta, single villus tumor, that is choreangioma of placenta. Maternal causes are diabetes, cardiac, or renal disease. These are the causes. Usually they will ask. Even the anencephaly specimen is also there in your exam. They will keep that anencephaly specimen. Then also they will ask about the polyhydramnios. This chapter is very much important for you. So among polyhydramnios, what are the types? It can be acute, sudden in onset. It can be occurs within a few days, or it can be chronic. Slowly the lichen will be increased. It takes few weeks. Okay. Usually the commonest variety is the chronic variety. And we can divide this polyhydramnios into mild, moderate, and severe. Deep vertical pocket. I told you, in the deep vertical, single vertical pocket, more than 8 is considered as polyhydramnios. So among more than 8, mild, moderate, severe, 8 to 11 is mild, 12 to 15 centimeters is moderate, and more than 16 centimeters is severe. This you should remember. What are the symptoms usually they will have? Because there will be not only the baby, even the lichen is more. So usually they will have distress. So what will happen? Respiratory, they will have shortness of breath, sometimes palpitation. Because of compression of vena cava by engorged uterus or engorged abdomen, there will be edema of the legs. Varicosities in the legs or vulva, hemorrhoids. These are the symptoms. Usually cardiorespiratory discomfort they can have, edema of the legs, and varicosities in the legs or vulva, and hemorrhoids. The patient will complain, may have be usually dyspneic in state, and they will be usually associated with preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is increase in blood pressure. Edema, hypertension, and proteinuria may be associated in this condition. When you come to the clinical examination, so the liquor is more. Inspection, what are the findings? Usually we'll find abdomen is markedly enlarged, looks globular, even the flanks are full before term, skin is tense, shiny, and large stria gravidarum will be present. In palpation, the height of the uterus is more than the period of amenorrhea. So usually they will ask you the question, what are the conditions you will have height of the uterus more than the period of amenorrhea? Can anyone tell me? No? Polyhydramnios, multiple pregnancy, wrong dates, big baby. These are the conditions. Any concealed accidental hemorrhage. All these conditions, you can have height of the uterus more than the period of amenorrhea. This question they will ask you in the exam. What are the other conditions where you will have height of the uterus more than the period of amenorrhea? Even the gut will be increased. Fluid thrill can be elicited because of more amount of liquor. And fetal parts presentation position is sometimes difficult. It cannot be well defined. And external ballotment also can be easily elicited. And palpation, what are the things you will see? Height you will see, gut we will see, fluid thrill, fetal parts are not properly well defined, and external ballotment can be easily palpated. And auscultation, fetal heart sounds can be heard, but sometimes it will be difficult because of increased amount of liquor. Doppler or ultrasound help we can take. And internal examination, when you do PV, usually the cervix, there will be a dilatation admitting a fingertip or a finger. And cervix is always partially taken up or pulled up. This is the usual common internal examination when you do a PV. These things, the cervix is pulled up and there will be dilatation of the cervix up to fingertip or at least one finger, and bulging of the membranes can be felt. So what you will do when a patient has come? You have to do all the investigations. What are the investigations? Here they are given only blood grouping, starting with always start with hemoglobin, urine albumin sugar, blood group and typing. Blood grouping typing, why? RH immunization we have to rule out for hydrox fetalis and fetal ascites. RBS, you know, the maternal blood sugar. And not only that, alpha fetoprotein, that is important because open neural tubule defects, this is the marker. So in amniotic fluid, always estimate alpha fetoprotein. Not only that, ultrasound will give a major role in identifying the polyhydramnios. Not only the amount of liquor, we can exclude anomalies. Then how much amount of the liquor is there, whether it is mild, moderate or severe. Then multiple gestation, and not only that, live presentation position. Sometimes I already told you, it will be very difficult to know the baby is in live presentation is difficult to diagnose. And not only that, any anomaly we can diagnose by ultrasound. So ultrasound plays a major role in identifying the fetal and maternal condition and liquor in polyhydramnios. So how you are going to manage? So early detection, and if the patient is having, we have to see for the any medical disorders complicating the polyhydramnios. Diabetes is there, we have to control the diabetes. RH immunization, it can be prevented, at least we can do anti-D at the 28 weeks of gestation. If it is any congenital anomaly baby, we can find in ultrasound, always terminate and treat the polyhydramnios. How you are going to treat? Already I told you about 38 weeks, this later it will decrease. So if it is mild, wait and watch policy, because it will decrease on its own. If it is severe and it is causing discomfort to the patient, severe is more than 16, isn't it? Deep vertical point. Then we have to see the cause, we have to relieve the symptoms, and we have to avoid the complications. This is our motto. So what you have to do? You have to give bed rest. Treatment of any associated conditions like diabetes, hypertension, we have to see. and diuretics, they won't have any role in these cases. We can give COX-2 inhibitors can be given, that is sulindac. That is our drug. Usually previously we used to give indomethacin also. That leads to patent ductus arteriosus. Premature closure of patent ductus arteriosus is the complication. That's why now we are not using. Sulindac is the COX-2 inhibitor. Indomethacin is COX-1 inhibitor. Previously we used to use. And we have to see the decreased amniotic fluid as it reduces the urine output. See here, always hospitalize the patient. See the chart. Do for the GTT, postprandial blood sugar, glycosylated hemoglobin. If the mother is diabetic, any infection we have to rule out. Antibodies for the Rh immunization, ABO blood grouping we have to see, and we have to see for this ultrasound or any anomalies. No fatal anomaly. Then we have to see whether the patient is responding to the treatment. The patient is responding, continue the pregnancy till delivery at term. The patient is in distress. If she is less than 37 weeks, that is preterm, we have to go for the amniotic reduction. Okay. The patient is pregnancy is more than 38 weeks term. We can go either amnio reduction or and later we can do ARM and we can progress her to labor. If the baby is having any anomalies, irrespective of gestational age, we have to terminate the pregnancy. Okay, this is our mode of treatment. What is amniocentesis? Amnio reduction. What is this? We have to slowly decompress. We have to remove the amniotic fluid at a rate of 500 ml per hour. And the amount of amniotic fluid removed should be sufficient that she will relieve her mechanical distress. Usually what we have to see, this is the procedure. Here is the baby. Here is the placenta. Always better go under ultrasonic guidance. So we can identify the placenta. So in the safer zone, where there is no placenta or fetal injury, we can introduce the spinal needle and we can withdraw the fluid, amniotic fluid. Up to how much? 500 ml per hour we can remove. Because of the slow decompression, chances of accidental hemorrhage is less. And like a amnio, but the problem here is, even though if you do amniocentesis also, again there can be re-accumulation of like a amnio will occur. And not only that, we can do amniotic fluid can be tested for fetal lung maturity. Okay. And what are the complications of polyhydramnios? This they will ask you in exam. What are the complications we'll come across during pregnancy? They will be usually associated with preeclampsia. 25% of cases they will be associated with polyhydramnios. Malpresentation and position because of more amount of liquor. Premature rupture of membrane because the TENS membranes can rupture at any time. Preterm labor and accidental hemorrhage. These are the 5 complications usually we encounter during pregnancy. So preeclampsia, malpresentations, premature rupture of membranes, preterm labor and accidental hemorrhage. During labor, same thing, early rupture of membranes will be present because of more amount of fluid. The sudden gush of liquor can cause cord prolapse. They can be uterine inertia, and sometimes because of malpresentation, they may go into operative delivery. They can go into either forceps or ventouse, and sometimes they can have retained placenta or postpartum hemorrhage because of over distension, isn't it? This is one of the cause for the PPH, and retained placenta is also one of the cause, and the patient may go into shock because of PPH. Okay, early rupture of membranes, cord prolapse, uterine inertia, operative delivery, and postpartum hemorrhage and retained placenta, and finally the patient may go into shock. And during postpartum, because of over distension, they can be subinvolution, and because of operative interference also, there are chances for the infection that also can lead to subinvolution. And for the baby, prematurity, congenital anomaly, hydrops fetalis, and increased operative deliveries can have morbidity over the fetus. This they will ask you in exam during pregnancy, during labor, and during puerperium. What are the complications will come across in polyhydramnios? Okay. Then come to the acute polyhydramnios. This is comparatively rare. They will have symptoms of abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting. The patient looks ill, and the edema of the legs or presence of any associated features of eclampsia as usual as chronic variety. Abdomen is usually enlarged more than the period of amenorrhea. Fluid thrill will be present. Fetal parts as usual cannot be palpated very easily, and fetal heart rate sound is also not audible. Internal examination reveals taking up the cervix, already I told you, and even dilatation of the os will be present. And sonography may show multiple fetuses because I told you acute polyhydramnios is mostly common seen in multiple gestation or fetal anomalies. Treatment is more often spontaneous abortions can occur. In case of severe TTS, repetitive amino reduction can be done, may improve perinatal outcome. Laser ablation can also be done for TTS, twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. TTTS is twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. Thank you. I think you understand.